So it's the day before my treatment. I am very nervous, but also very excited. Hello, my name is Tatiana, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna get a little bit personal, and this video is just gonna be all over the place, so get ready. As the title suggests, I do have an eating disorder called ARFID, but let's just kind of get into the whole story. So it's the day before my treatment. I'm feeling very anxious, very nervous, but at the same time excited. Just because I really want this to work. I really want to be on the path of recovery so I can start enjoying life again. I kind of want to see food as a game to see how many new foods I can introduce to my diet and actually enjoy. So I'm trying to spin this on a positive note, but yeah. What I have is ARFID. It's avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. It's not very well known. I think it used to be called the selective eating disorder. It was introduced in 2013 or formally known as a eating disorder in 2013. I've grown up being picky my whole entire life, probably ever since solid foods were introduced into my diet. I don't really remember being any other way, which has kind of been an issue growing up because you have a lot of people who react very negatively, especially to adult picky eaters, which I understand because to most people, trying new food is a simple thing, but to someone with ARFID, it's not. I guess one way they describe ARFID is a food phobia. You're scared of trying new foods, and it's often triggered by some event. For me, it's fear of vomiting. On top of that, I'm very sensitive to different textures. But I also want to add something about how ARFID shows up differently in different people. Like I said, for me, it's fear of vomiting, but for other people, it could be smell sensitivity. It could be fear of having an allergic reaction, fear of choking. It presents itself in many different ways. This is just for me personally how it presented itself. So that could trigger me not wanting to try food or not wanting it. And the thing is, it's not even about trying the food. It's for me, it's there's so much anxiety that builds up just to try the food. I'll sit here and some days I'll be okay, let's see, I'll try tomorrow a sandwich with tomato and lettuce. It's not gonna be that bad. Everyone else eats it. How bad can it really be? And then I'll finally convince myself yeah, I can do this. And then the moment comes for me to take a bite, and there's just so much anxiety wrapped up around this that I can't. I chicken out. I don't know what there even is to chicken out, but I do chicken out. It's just something that happens that I can't explain. So I guess all of this is part of ARFID and the eating disorder, so I'm gonna seek treatment. It's something that has definitely impacted my social life. I make a lot of decisions based on whether or not I'm gonna be able to eat, whether or not people are gonna judge me for it. A lot of times when they're school functions and they make pre-made food, those sandwiches come with mustard and lettuce and tomato, and sure, I guess you can take it off, but the juice seeps into these ingredients so then you can still taste it. I know to a lot of people this turns them off. I get it. It turns me off, and I'm seeking help for that reason. I mean, it's gotten really bad at some points. I know I went to this one conference in LA and the whole day was just booked. It was back-to-back events. There's no real break for you to go out and get things, and so they served you food, but half the time I didn't like the food. It was salads and a lot of vegetables, just things that I didn't eat. So I was starving. I had no energy by the end of the day, and this lasted for 2 or 3 days. By the end of it, I was so exhausted because I wasn't eating properly. It's just, there's all these complications. They're just so inconvenient, especially if I'm trying to go out and have a good time with friends. I have to eat at home first before going to the restaurant, and then I'm just sitting there for company, which is fine. I'm cool with that, but I know for the people I'm with, that kind of ruins the experience, because the experience is about enjoying food with other people. I want to enjoy food with other people too. So if you want to learn the extent of my diet, I mean, over time it's gotten a little bit better. I guess my parents also always thought that I would eventually outgrow it, as do most people, but I never outgrew it. And here I am in my 20s, still being a picky eater. So if we want to talk about foods I eat and foods I don't eat, to put it simply, I don't eat vegetables. I guess that's just how I put it. I do love most fruit. I do eat steak, I eat chicken. I have weird eating habits. I'll eat a lot of Colombian foods because that's my ethnic background, and I eat a lot of my mom's cooking, but I won't eat a lot of Asian foods. I won't eat a lot of vegetables. I won't eat seafood. Yeah. Most of the time when I go to restaurants, I'm taking things off of the order. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's also not very economical because I'm paying $15 for a burger just with cheese. So the weird thing is that up until a few months ago, I had no idea that this was even an eating disorder. I guess I just thought, like everyone else, that I was picky, and maybe I don't know, I could put my mind to it to change, but it's just so hard. I mean, when I was little, I was also like told to, not force fed, that's such an awful way of saying it. Like I'd sit at the dinner table and they give me a plate of food I don't like, and they're like, you have to finish this before you go to bed. Well, the thing is, I would rather starve than eat that thing that I don't like. So that's what I would do. And then eventually my parents obviously did not think that was healthy for me. So they kind of started making modifications and eventually gave up. So the traditional methods of getting a picky eater to eat more food is not really going to work with someone with ARFID, which is why I'm going to a hypnotherapist instead of doing exposure therapy, because I don't want to create more trauma around food. Yeah, so I didn't know this was like even a thing till a few months ago. As I've gotten older, I've slowly introduced more food into my diet, but like definitely not at the pace that it should be. I also have had no interest in cooking because I dislike most foods. So it's like I can make something, but I'm not even going to want to try it, so why even make it? I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So that's also an issue because I need to learn to live alone, also to like cook for other people. I don't even remember how I found out about ARFID. It might have been like on TikTok, to be honest. And then I started looking into it more and started seeing a lot of other TikTokers talking about their own experience with it. And I'm like, that sounds very familiar. And then I started looking it up online and realized like, yeah, this is 100% me. So I saw a doctor, she's like, yeah, that's what we think you have. And then seeking treatment, that's a completely different story, just because it's such a new eating disorder that most people don't even know it exists, number one, and number two, much less how to treat it. So I think for the longest time, I was looking for a psychologist or someone I could go talk to in therapy and maybe work on it that way. There's also like a dietitian maybe, but I don't know, that part, having a dietitian forcing me to eat foods does not sound very appealing to me, so that I did not go that route. But finding a therapist was incredibly difficult because, like I said, no one really knew how to treat it. No one, I don't know, I wanted someone who would specialize in this area and knew what to do because I've had this problem for so long. So I was getting ready to give up. And I came on YouTube and one of the suggested videos was literally the most unattractive thumbnail. It was just like a black screen with some neon colored words that said ARFID. And it was like a question and answer thing. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just click on it and see what they have to say. And in it, I found two therapists and they were talking about ARFID. And the more digging that I did, I realized that the main guy who is hosting this is actually a hypnotherapist who specifically focuses and specializes in ARFID. Like he trains other people on how to treat it. He's constantly treating people with ARFID on a daily basis and people are flying in from all over the world to work with him. So I'm like, okay, we found our guy. Then I see that he actually does Zoom and online sessions. So that is what I'm doing. It's a hypnotherapy. Essentially, it's a one session kind of thing, and what it does is it helps me overcome the fear of food, the fear of trying new food. It's not like I'm gonna leave this session and all of a sudden I'm gonna like everything I try. It's not a cure, but it's him helping me unblock that process. In other words, it's like the first stepping stone, the biggest hurdle that I have to jump. He's gonna help me get over that through releasing that fear. And once I release that fear, now I can finally start trying new foods and trying it multiple times until my palate gets used to it and I actually come to terms with it and I like it. So that's the idea behind it, which I'm nervous because it's tomorrow. I'm fine with like the hypnosis part of it. It's the part after that I'm nervous about where you have to bring in new foods to try. So I don't know, I've been thinking of getting like maybe like cucumbers, carrots, hummus, maybe like sandwich with veggies, I don't know, sushi, I don't know. But see, like all these foods are just very intimidating to me, which again, you might laugh, but it's my reality. And the goal is that by the end of the session, I'll be able to try them. Doesn't mean I'm gonna like them, but at least I'll be able to try them and not fear it. I don't even know if I want to include this in here because I feel like it reflects so poorly on me, but I think it is also kind of tied to the whole issue. I have always hated washing dishes. And my parents would always make me wash their dish. Not always, I'm exaggerating. When they gave out chores, they like to make me wash the dishes so that eventually I get over this dislike of it and find that it doesn't bother me. And I think what I'm realizing is I don't mind washing dishes when it's like food that I like, that I normally eat. But when I'm washing dishes that have food that other people ate that I am not fond of, I don't like the smells that come from it. I don't like getting dirty, and I just don't like touching food I don't like. So I think that's kind of related to ARFID. It's also oftentimes associated with OCD. I know my parents are super excited for this because I know they're optimistic about it, and I know that they want to go out and explore food more as well and not just be limited to what I like. So I'm also excited for them. Another thing is, like, I just want to be healthy. Like, I'm finally at a point where I'm working out consistently. I'm very proud of how my body is changing and how I'm feeling stronger every day. But I know I'm never gonna get the body that I want if I don't couple it with my diet. Now, mind you, my diet's not awful. I'm not eating like Cheez-Its every day. I'm not eating like the super sugary cereals, none of that. I do try to be healthy with what I eat. I try to be mindful of what I'm putting in my body just because my options are so limited. But I know that until I start incorporating vegetables and maybe like green smoothies and just all of like the healthy food, I'll never have the body that I ideally want. So I think that's another big push for me. Like, I want to be that girl or whatever, but I need to make some changes if I ever want to get there. So I'm just glad to have found some kind of treatment that will most likely help. So I know this video was definitely not the clearest, but I just kind of want to come on and explain a little bit about my experience. And I guess I'll update you with the process to see how it goes. We're gonna stay optimistic. If anyone has more questions on ARFID or maybe their own experience with it and they want to comment it down below, let me know. I'll try to get back to as many of you as I can. I feel like this isn't talked about a lot, so yeah, I'm willing to be open about it. So I'll come back on tomorrow and I guess update you on how things go.